The port. My gut says my wife is up to something. It's online and in an MMO, although she has gotten text messages from someone in the morning right as she gets up. As soon as she found out I was checking, she called our cell provider and changed the login details. Our marriage is hanging by a thread and anything I do is met with hostility and denial. About 2 months later, after the last few weeks, I confronted my wife about her inability to take action and start working on our problems. And she up and told me that she was not going to. So, I said I wanted out. After a few days of stomping around, she has agreed that it's the best thing to do. The last few days I have felt relief and excitement at the fact I might get a chance at happiness. But today I start doing some research about spouses that had bad early years and find out that she might feel the same feelings when I try to initiate or try to spend time with her, which makes me think that I have been a gigantic jerk about this all this time. So, I try to tell her that I was willing to go do what it takes to get things back on track, and that with my new appreciation of her positions when it comes to intimacy, and would work with her and change my view of what I thought was her just not caring enough to try might be something else much deeper. She has declined and would rather continue down the path of separation. Now what do I do? I'm not sure if I want to wait for a few more years to see no improvement and no effort on her part. Anyone been in the same situation and were able to right the ship? That's if she would actually try again. Months later, it's an at most, but my wife's behavior is sending me nothing but bad signals. She has been off work for a few months, and if she is not sleeping, she is on the computer. She is having some mental issues, and not the first time, and I see less improvement than the last time. And she is really treating me like crap to boot. Anyway, it is how she protects her phone like it is the most precious thing on earth. In the last 3 months she has not left it alone. Even when sleeping she has it concealed. Well, this morning I found out where she keeps it in her hand. While she sleeps, she is holding her freaking phone, and has turned vibrate off and keeps it face down. If I happen to be around and she gets a text, she very obviously tries to keep my eyes off it. So, I am asking this even though I know the answer. I will find out what is going on by going on her PC. I don't have the password for it. I know how to get on it, but she will know as her password will have been reset. And I know if I am wrong this will probably push her over the edge. And if I'm right it will push me. The PC is a home PC. It's not hard to get on, she will just know about it, and if I'm wrong it's going to make things worse. And she does not get a drink of water without taking the phone with her, so I'm not going to get a chance to look at it, let alone back it up on my PC. She also will log out of her PC if she leaves the room. She goes back to work soon and I will have the day to look at it. The phone bills. Yeah, that's another thing. We went through a similar time where someone was texting her in the morning. I looked it up online and someone from California was texting her. I told her the area and carrier and she shut the cell bill down by changing the password. It's in her name. The plan was one she had before we met. I know I should have done something about it then, but we almost split up and I take a lot of responsibility for it then, and I never followed it up and she never explained what happened. She said it was a female friend and left it at that. I am supposed to be able to trust my wife, right? Both of us are in our early 40s. She has kids, one is still at home. Together 7, married almost 5. Oh, and she is employed but is on a sick leave. Telling them she is having a mental breakdown and playing online games 24/7. A woman in these games gets a lot of attention. I actually think she has pulled a nightery this past evening. And then tells me at least she is trying to get help. All I can say is that I left my iPhone on in my pocket near her and went and got a coffee and was gone for 15 minutes and got all the proof I need. Wow. She told the guy I didn't live with her, and she was zealous because it sounded like the guy was going to see someone else. He is, in her words, miles away and she doesn't want him sticking it in anyone else. All this in 15 minutes. I can't do anything until Monday or else she will not return to work and I will not get on her PC. I actually feel relief, because I have been trying to get us back on the rails. To get to her phone I would have to render her unconscious. I only need onto her PC once. The fear of being wrong has been removed. I think I already know his name, and no R for this guy. I plan to get her boyfriend on Monday, her first day back at work in 3 months, to inform her the jig is up, then sit back and watch the show, making plans for my future as we speak and getting my ducks in a row. And what they say about following your gut. What I got was that she has been lying about her marital status and is telling the guy she is talking to that she is too far away from him to do anything with him, but that she doesn't want him fooling around with anyone else. I heard my wife tell a stranger that she was upset about the fact she was too far away to do anything for him, and that she was sad because he was getting attention from one of the other married ducks playing this game with them. And she said she didn't want him sleeping with anybody else. My wife said, I don't want you sticking it in anybody else. My wife said this to someone that's not me. Just because he has slept with her, he is keeping her from trying to save our marriage. This is just as bad, because if he walked in the room right after he said that my wife would have had slept with him, she won't sleep with me, but she would if she could with some douche she will never meet and never see. And I believe that something like this has been going on all along. So, no matter what I do, the fact she is checking her phone for his text and frowning at mine means I am at a disadvantage that I didn't even know existed until yesterday. He is messing with her emotionally. What more do I need to know? It answers the question as to why nothing I do is working. Sorry, I'm angry right now. I confronted her and she pretty much said yeah, but it's just fun. I don't mean anything. But it does. It means I lose. Yesterday I thought I had hit it out of the park. I was going to come down on her with my dazzling information and she was going to realize that she was wrong and see the error of her ways. She was annoyed and admitted to as little as she could and I had half of a conversation. She is sitting on her PC right now, watch a movie waiting for Prince Charming to swoop in from work or whatever and then spend the night together. This is what all that talk about being alpha and all the crap is about, right? An alpha doesn't have his woman waiting for her digital dong to show up while the alpha sits by pouting. Now she knows I know and did not stop it. I could not imagine what it would be like if she was getting in her car and going out for a couple hours and then coming back every night. She has already admitted to as little as possible. I was going to go onto her PC on Monday, but now her return to work has been delayed for another week. And when I go on it, she is going to know. She already knows I know. She doesn't care. She admits it went too far and she would stop. Doesn't matter, I pushed for divorce after confronting her and she agrees, and is fine with it. I jumped the gun with my info because I was planning on getting on her PC first so I could contact the guy and let her know I knew, but I blew that. And now she knows and is still doing it. Did they do more? Well, the first thing that tipped me off was her Zoom account on her new tablet that I bought her for Christmas had some guy on it. Am I right that you use Zoom for video? If I could post the recording here, I would. Her voice, she doesn't talk like that to me, well, not anymore. She admitted to me that this has been going on for a month. So, what does that mean in cheater speak if your first offer is 1 month? It has obviously gone on longer than that. We went to Mexico in November and we never had slept together. I hated it. When we got back, she told me in a text while at work all this crap about loving me and I said whatever, you sure don't show it. Big fight. On my next day off she snaps and becomes someone else, and it's been like that since the end of November. I'm sure they were texting while we were there. I'm at least 3 months too late. But now it doesn't matter. She is cheating on me and I don't negotiate with cheaters. In 10 days, I will have evidence as to how far it went. Most of the time it's worse than you think. So, online affair is what I'm thinking as a minimum, but I have no proof and my anger got me and I started blabbing because I really thought it would make a difference. Right now, if she said I will never touch the internet or a cell phone ever again, would I take her back? Yeah, but the fact I heard what I heard on my iPhone recording has ruined it for me, and typing this has reminded me of that. This same crap happened 2 years ago and I took responsibility because of my behavior and didn't follow it up. My gut feeling is this has been going on as long as I have known her. She has a lot of intimacy issues and I am really getting the short end of the stick when it comes to married life, especially bonding. But if I can get proof of her engaging in any physical thing that will release me from my shackles that I place on myself, but I don't have that yet. We are splitting anyway. Will make it easier for me though. I do need to see if my gut is right about the extent of the online affairs. If this is the only one and there was no cybering and it was caught before it could get out of control, then there is a chance we could work through it. But we all know that that's not what has happened. My gut is telling me that this has been going on before she met me. Her kids told me she would lock herself in her bedroom and online chat all night. It has been at least the last couple years. And the more I think about it, the more things start to line up. Like we were both playing a game last year and she told me the leader of the guild we were in was making up all this stuff and was a real wacko. And she was real concerned about me talking to him because he would lie to me about them having an affair or something to get back at her. I did not think too much about it except that she was real concerned that I don't talk to him. Yes, I should have been. And 2 years ago, we were splitting up and didn't go on a trip to Mexico. The same type of stuff was going on then as is now. She was online all the time. Imagine if she killed our first real vacation together because she didn't want to be away from her online boyfriend. Even in marriage counseling, she said that she would not give up the online gaming. In reconciliation right now, with all I have proof of, would be no more online anything, which would be hard to enforce. Oh, and I got drunk last night and blasted her with texts, and one of the things she said was, I have not talked to him since I told you. All of a sudden, she told me about him, not that I caught her, and she denied it until she knew I had proof. So right now, I am trying to get my head around the farce my marriage has been, trying to figure out what to do, and waiting until I can get some proof of how long this has been going on. I can't up and walk out as much as I would like to. She has been off work, so I have had to cover all expenses. So, we don't have much money, and what we do have I have. If I walk out, she lives in her car and her daughter goes to her dad's. She has no family and no real friends that I know of. And I need to know if anything physical happened and or if it has happened before. Because if either of these are true, there is no way I am staying with her. None. And she is in a terrible place financially, so what do you think she is going to do when she figures out that this is real and I am really leaving? And when I find out this has been going on all the time, I have been with her and has been the cause of all the crap I have gone through with her, I am going to leave. But right now, I have no solid proof and need it because I am loyal, and when I took my marriage vows, I meant them, but when I have proof that she did not, it will allow me to be free of the bonds of my marriage. And I know what I am going to find. I know it, but I still have to see it because at the end of the day she is still my wife. And I am starting to see why someone like me attracts someone like her. Someone with no morals like someone with high morals, because they are easier to control. And I believe she thinks that I am going to do nothing too. And when she sees that I am, she is going to all of a sudden have an epiphany, see the light, and want to reconcile. And without having the proof I need, I can walk away. But when I get it, nothing will stop me from going. The plan right now is we are getting a divorce and we are forced to continue living together until we can both move out. We don't own our house and really there is nothing to split up. And I am fine with it and it seems like a fair and right thing to do. But when I get onto her PC, that's going to change. But until then I have to sit and wait. I don't want to have to rush through it, and I will have all day to go through it. And then I will get her back the best and most hurtful way I possibly can. I will leave and move on. My stepdaughter has been telling my wife that I keep badgering her for information, which is not true. I asked her why her mom keeps telling me to leave her alone, and she just laughed and said yeah. She had been using that as an excuse to get her mom to let her go stay at a friend's all of the time. I asked her if she knew what that was doing to an already tough time between her mom and me. She didn't seem to care. So, who knows what else is going on. I found out this week my wife is probably a serial online cheater, and my stepdaughter is taking advantage of the situation to get out of the house and doesn't seem to give a crap about me either. It's like an alternate reality. It looks like we are going down the road to divorce, and it got pretty real today. I started packing some boxes, but I feel like I am losing my world. So, I sat down and was going to make a pro-con list to continue being married to my wife, and I can only come up with one pro. I am comfortable. We have spent the last 3 months living separately in the same home, and now I don't even want to be around her. What the hell is wrong with me? Weeks later, well, I just got onto her computer tonight and it was as bad as I could have imagined. My 41-year-old wife is texting and sending him pictures of herself and has done this with at least 2 guys since Christmas. I want to walk out on her now. She will not make rent and will get kicked out. She has a 15-year-old, but she has family to go to. What do? I knew this was coming. I started documenting things 2 years ago because my physical life with my wife was terrible. We have not had slept together since October, but she sends pictures to a 20-year-old boy. She has a son older than this. My life has been a complete lie, and I suspect this is what has been interfering with our marriage all along. I sat in her computer chair fighting myself whether I should do it or not. Then I noticed the picture near her desk of us in Mexico face down. She has even talked to him about coming here. He actually was talking about telling his mom he was moving to Canada. He is in the USA. And she texted him some stuff from the Government Canada website about immigration. This was a month ago. A few weeks before that it was some other little punk, but she had deleted the text but not the pics. This was all while she was thanking me for giving her this time to get through what she called some mental problems. He is 20 and she has a 15-year-old. How do you live with someone for 7 years and have no idea what the hell is going on? And no, I don't want to fix this. I have been trying for 5 years. We went to counseling and she fought it all the way, even though it was her idea to go. It's been a nightmare and I can now leave with a clear conscience. Her son is a real piece of work, piece of crap, and my biggest fear was that the apple did not fall far from the tree. She is going to crash and burn though. She has not prepared for anything. It's payday today, Thursday, and she was not sure if she was getting anything or not. She had $23 deposited this morning. She obviously thinks I'm going to be here to support her. How messed up is that? I confronted her. She knew I had been on her PC. I told her what I knew. She swore that she had just started this in the last few weeks. I told her the evidence said otherwise. She started screaming at me at the top of her lungs to stop talking to her. I left for the afternoon and went to her relatives. I am back now. She wants me to jump up and get separation papers going. I told her to duck off. Now I'm back in my place. At least I know now that this abortion of a marriage is over, and now I am having trouble seeing where to go from here. I have 2 weeks to decide what I am going to do, and I don't see the future any clearer. I feel like curling up in a ball. I paid the rent. I am now as broke as she is. That and she didn't get paid has really screwed me. She doesn't even seem to care. It's weird. I thought it would be just for fun BS, but she talks to him like they are going to be together. How does somebody give up reality for texting and stop caring about bills? Laundry, work, her kids, a husband that you have always been able to count on and has been there for you, and you destroy him for some dirty text messages and a picture from him, telling him that I have been gone a while and that I would help with bills for a few months. How she doesn't sleep in our bed anymore because she thinks it's disgusting, and in reality, I am in it. That's why she is not sleeping in it. And it was a different guy in January, and every time I close my eyes, I see the pictures she sent, or her in the tub. This is horrible. The biggest thing for me right now is how much she doesn't care. She told me she would tell me everything. I said how many times. She said just once. I gave her the name and phone number. She said okay only twice. It's pathetic. I'm going to tell everyone that knows her what a woman she is. Do I tell her 15-year-old daughter? And living under the same roof is destroying me. I hate her. Yet I keep digging for some signs of remorse and she won't give me that either. So, I just heard back from someone we used to play another MMO with about a year ago, and although he didn't admit to cybering with her, and after you think about it for a second, who would? He said that she was plenty flirty and needy with everyone when I was not around, and that she told these guys very intimate aspects of our marriage and liked to blame me for everything. She told him she had a 1-year plan to leave me. Does that make me a cuckold? And he said I would be better off with someone with traditional values like I have. That's an odd thing to say, isn't it? So, I have proof that she has been at this at least a year. Some of you may say that this is doing me no good, but I think it is. It is easier to throw away the last 7 years when you find out they were a lie to begin with. Anything is possible now. It's been happening for at least 2 years. I was not really keeping track of her as I work long days and trusted her. I would assume that if one of them were local, why would she not see him? That's part of what is killing me right now. Was she doing this while we went on our belated honeymoon at the end of 2021? She was telling a guy she was leaving me 2 months later, and the people I played with knew what my wife was doing and must have thought I was the biggest loser. I am not having a good day. It's like she died yet someone that looks just like her took her place. The woman I married does not exist and probably never did. I am so lost right now. I'm going to leave. Unfortunately, she has not planned this out or has done a very crappy job of it. I want my wife back, the one I thought I had. She is gone and I feel terrible about it. I am mourning the loss of my wife and best friend. Do I want her to beg me to take her back? Hell yeah. But in the end, I cannot be with a cheater. I have had 4 relationships in my life. 2 were when I was younger, late teens and early 20s. Both cheated on me. The second one moved in with my childhood best friend. I moved away and spent 9 years single. Then I was with a girl who would not stop going to see her ex-boyfriend that she slept with until the day we met. And after I am sure, she would not give him up as a friend. We even went and saw a counselor and he said, "No, you can't expect your new boyfriend to be okay with you spending the night at you old boyfriends." So, we split up and I met my wife a few months later. We have not been apart since we met, and I really can't see myself opening up to let someone do this to me again. I see that I need to do a lot of work on myself before I try this again. I stayed in this relationship long after I should have left. I would keep trying until the cows come home, and obviously all that is getting me is used and taken advantage of. Story 2. So, I ended up sitting down with my husband 2 Sundays ago and told him how sad and unhappy I am. His immediate reaction was, "What's the point of separation? Let's get a divorce," and he then asked me if I had been seeing someone else. Which I'm not, nor whatever. We chatted cordially for about a half hour. He went to his friends for the night and I moved out the following day. I'll try to make a long story short. Yeah, right. But we have been married for 3 years and together for 8 years. We got married in our older 20s. We have always enjoyed going out and drinking some beers. Actually, I'm quite ashamed of my past behaviors and have decided shortly before we got married that it's time for me to grow up and live my life happily. I had been dealing with my father's alcoholism for 10 years. He quit right after I got married, and it has had more of an impact on me than I had realized. I've been seeing an IC since Feb. My husband and I tried MC, but I don't think either of us were being honest about what we really wanted. I've gone to Al-Anon a few times and have joined some email groups but have yet to really catch on to it. My husband has always been an avid beer fan. He has gone through phases in our relationship where he drinks more than other times. He isn't one to drink on a nightly basis, but when he drinks, he binges. Which to me can be an even more dangerous thing. Almost a year ago he got himself into trouble, hospitalized with too much booze and wrecked drug use. Needless to say, he will not be using drugs anymore, but beers are a different story. I used to try to convince him to go get help. Now I just tell him that I'm really worried about his drinking behavior. I get anxious when he is out late, doesn't call or text, and I have no idea where he is. Then if I wake up the next morning and he isn't home without any communication, my anxiety skyrockets. This happens about 2 to 3 times a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. I have been working with my IC on ways to calm my anxiety, ways to be a more assertive person, ways to verbalize my needs and my opinions without worrying about what people think about me, including my husband. I feel really good with the progress I have made with her help and advice. Unfortunately, this newfound communication has not always gone over well with my husband. For example, he came home drunk at 3 a.m. and did something inappropriate. I told him to come inside and guided him to the couch. The next morning, I verbalized to him calmly that I felt what he did, not the drinking, was inappropriate and that I never want to see that happen again. He yelled directly back at me. His excuse for the yelling is that it has been 8 months of us butting heads and he is in defense mode. I ended up leaving and going to work flustered. It's been month after month of a roller coaster ride of virtual unhappiness. I ended up going away with some friends of mine that I hardly get to see. I had a great time and it was great not having to worry about my husband. When my friend dropped me off at the airport, I nearly cried. I was so sad and didn't want to come home. I didn't want to deal with my marriage anymore. I've tried and tried and tried and he says he doesn't understand me. I felt like my inner strength and soul was at the point of saying uncle and I give up. So, a couple of weeks I decided that separation for me was what I needed to take care of myself and get my life and happiness back, or at least on the road to getting it back. So, we had been separated for a week and I invited him out to dinner to talk. It was a cordial conversation and we both were upfront and honest. We came to the conclusion that I want him to give up drinking and he wants me to give him more freedom. We had tried with MC to have him communicate better with me when he goes out, but that is very inconsistent. We met again this past week and we fought the entire time. He blames his recent drinking behaviors on the fact that we are having a difficult time in our marriage, never mind that he makes the choice to drink. He says his drinking would be different if I went out with him. No way, and if things were happy between me and him. He said he wants to compromise, he wants to be able to drink and go out with his buddies. Kicker is that I never limit his ability to go out with his friends. I will give a cold shoulder sometimes if he does inappropriate, immature things, and depending on the severity, this cold shoulder thing can last from a day to a few. I know it's not the best, but it's how I feel. It's hard to tell him that his inappropriate behavior is directly linked to his drinking because he is super defensive. So now here I am, at my parents' house. Thank God I get along well with them both. But it does stink because I'm an independent person who has a great job and great career. I am able to support myself by myself if it ends up going in that direction. I've been going through a whole host of emotions. Each day is different. There are times that I miss the physical intimacy of our relationship, but to be honest, I'm not missing him. There are other aspects of our relationship that drive me nuts too. He has a hard time, number 1, listening, number 2, following through on things he says he is going to do, and number 3, taking a suggestion from me. We can't seem to agree on where to vacation. We can't seem to agree on what project on our house to invest our money into next, etc. It's frustrating. At the end of the conversation at our meeting the other night, I had to leave because he used vulgar language directed at me after I told him to grow up. He then called and told me that he misses me and he wants me to come home. I can't feasibly think of going home to the same situation when nothing has changed and we have both been miserable. Even if we attempt to wipe the slate clean and start over, there are still issues, and I'm not willing to compromise the bottom line. He stops drinking and I give him more freedom, because he already has freedom to do what he wants. And even with all my counseling, coping with a drinker is tough, especially since I want to have children and a family, and I don't want to start that with him now because of the drinking and irresponsibility. He will deny to death that he is not irresponsible with his drinking, that driving after having 4 beers in less than 2 hours is okay. He wants me to move back in soon because he says his life is in limbo. Oh well, my life has been in limbo the past 8 months, wondering if I should separate from him. I know we are relatively new to this separation thing, but I'm weighing the option of divorce. But I also want to try to use this time to better myself and maybe our relationship. I see my life without him and it does seem scary but exciting and new without having to worry about a loved one who doesn't want to help themselves. I just want to be happy, and it's been a year of total unhappiness with my marriage. There are times whether or not I even love him anymore. He says things will change, but I've heard that a gazillion times. There are times where I think I settled for this marriage and that this marriage possibly was a mistake. We made it through the first 5 years by me staying quiet, not voicing my opinion, letting him have his way. I didn't have a lot of confidence in the fact that my feelings and opinions matter. He would do something like the night of his bachelor party, he somehow ended up driving him and his friend to a hotel. His best man didn't even know where he was the next morning when I called to find out how he was. I got really angry at him. He tells me that I'm overreacting and I'm somehow apologizing to him versus him apologizing to me. Makes total sense, right? Nothing physical, just manipulation at times. There have been a couple of instances where he has been so angry and in my face that I had felt scared. And no affairs that I know of. I fell in love with him as I saw a man who was a great person, smart and talented and had a bright future. But this is the problem. He is that same person I met almost 8 years ago. He hasn't grown up. We are early 30s. He hangs out with his buddies when he wants 1 to 2 times per week. The in-my-face angry behavior has happened 3 times in the last 6 months. He is out late and either comes home drunk or doesn't come home at all. Angry behavior has occurred when he has been sober. He blames his drinking on our relationship and our relationship's problems and unhappiness. I'm not sure I was being honest in MC. I know I cannot control his drinking, so I tried to find some other strategies to use to cope with his drinking while being healthy for myself. We came up with him being a better communicator in MC, especially when he goes out of state with his friend for weekend-long drinking parties. But he isn't a good communicator, and I really do know that he needs to get sober because it affects every aspect of his life, including our marriage. We went to MC for 2 to 3 months. Most of his friends from our hometown are married and most from out of state are single. Yes, I know he still has feelings for me. I have made it crystal clear that his drinking is getting in the way of him behaving like a mature, appropriate adult, and being hungover for 2 to 3 days at a time limits his ability to participate in activities as well as standard chores. I have no problem with him going out with his friends 1 to 2 nights per week, but his behavior isn't tolerable. It's so frustrating to see. No meds that I know of. I can't talk this guy into anything. He did try and I see because our MC suggested it to him. He said all they did was chat and there is nothing for him to work on. He may go back again because I mentioned it the other night. Who knows though? No kids, which are ruining me too because I really want them, but realize that if our relationship sucks the way it is right now, then having kids is not a good idea. As well as the fact that having kids grow up with a functionally alcoholic father is not okay either. I have stood my ground on the drinking. He has made it clear to me that he doesn't have a problem and that he will not quit. I feel like I'm wasting my time and my life. His stubbornness is out of control. He wants everything his way. He is the same man I met nearly 8 years ago and I'm growing up. We are going in 2 separate directions. I want and expect more out of myself in my marriage, but the marriage is just worsening. He is 32 and I'm 30. I will continue to stand my ground. But how long do I continue? There may come a time when I can't wait around any longer. And I think it sucks that I moved out because he refused and I still have to pay my half of the mortgage. Days later. So, my husband and I are now talking tonight through texting. He wants to limit his beers to going out once per month, having as much as he wants as long as he is safe and communicates with me, and other than that he said he will limit himself to 3 drinks. My problem with this is I don't think this will happen because he tried this a few months ago and failed miserably and again blamed the status of our relationship as to why he drank over his set limits. He thinks we both have to give a little or call it a day. He said that I am so important in his life. This is so frustrating. I'm feeling kind of vulnerable right now because I had to go to a wedding this weekend alone. Well, I had some of my friends there. Of course, I missed having the companionship of my husband there, but I'm not so sure if I'm actually missing him. I'm being wishy-washy right now. On one hand, it's like let's give it another try, but on the other hand, it's like I think he is trying to get me back home, but virtually nothing has gotten solved or has changed. I would have no problem with wiping the slate clean, but I feel as though I'm settling on his drinking issue again. And I don't want to have a contract to limit his drinking because there are many months where he goes out and has more than just 1 night a month of a drinking binge. The fact that my husband has refused to give up drinking and has defended himself all this time is frustrating. Not only do I feel as though he is choosing booze over me, but he has defended his position so hard that I don't think he is ready to realize or admit that this is more than just a problem. It's not only the actual drinking, but also the irresponsible behaviors. I have asked him in the past to go get help, but he isn't even at the stage of admitting there is a problem. He may or may not be an actual alcoholic, but he is definitely a problem drinker, and all signs point to his behaviors getting worse. I don't want to raise a family in this type of environment. I wish I had realized these things in the past about what I wanted. I was dealing with my dad's alcoholism for the 5 years that I was dating my husband. And my drinking at the time, although was fun with my husband, I believe I used as an avoidance strategy of how I was feeling about my dad. I've told my husband that, and he doesn't think that is the case. That we were just having fun. Well, times change, and about 3 years ago I have considerably changed my social behaviors. The bar scene is not what I want to be around anymore. I will go with him and maybe have a drink, but once it starts getting late, I tell him I'm going home, and he 90% of the time will want to stay out. An occasional bar or family gathering, and that is it without those nights drinking and partying till 3 a.m. I just don't find that fun anymore, nor the feeling the next 2 days. I can't even recall the last time my husband was the DD. Anyways, I think I'm going to stick to my gut feelings. I really don't see how bargaining his drinking will help. I agree that this may be a move in the right direction, but at the same time I don't want to just settle. I don't understand what the big deal is about giving up alcohol, but then again, I don't think he is ready to realize that it's a problem for him, as it hasn't affected anything in his life except for me and his parents, who don't talk to him about it. They had a few incidences in the past where they had to bail him out. My comment: what do you think about the second story? Have you met someone who never really grew up? And how do you make someone grow up? Comment down and see